Yes, so today's session is all about developing an attitude of gratitude, which is through a 7 step formula. We've been having sessions which were unrecorded, but this session onwards, we've been asked to record because there are many participants who are either unable to attend because of time zone differential or because the timing just doesn't suit them, even though they're in the same country. So we have decided to record these sessions. So we'll start without much further ado. Developing an attitude of gratitude, the 7 step formula. I've prepared a small presentation. This is something which I had done earlier, so it makes it easier for the participants to follow. So now, famous gentleman Brian Tracy, and his definition of developing an attitude of gratitude is notably focusing on two key points. One is to give thanks for everything that happens to you, and the other is that every step forward is a step towards achieving something better and bigger. So two key points to focus on. Yes, Sabrina?
Is it connecting? Can you see us?
Can you see us?
Hold on.
No, we don't see. We see you.
No,
but
I can't see your video, but I can hear you.
Start video then.
Okay, then.
Yes, now I can
Now?
see you.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can
All right. So 2 points, as I said. One is to give thanks for everything that happens to you. And the other is to know that a step forward is towards achieving something bigger. So those are the key pillars on which Brian Tracy bases his definition of what is an attitude of gratitude. Now, that being said, how do we develop this attitude of gratitude? Because it's easy to say that we should be grateful, but how do we actually go about doing it? There's many a slip between the cup and the lip. So how do we go about doing it? So I've put down a few steps and I've made it like a 7 step formula. So what is step one? Step one is to create a morning gratitude session. Now, why do I say morning? I think the morning is the most important time of the day. It's the time when your senses are most alert, when you are able or you are in a situation to receive more in terms of anything being said. You sort of imbibe it more. You are able to remember things more clearly. Your body is fresh, your brain is fresh. You are able to put in a lot more than you would be able to do as the day goes on. So when you are talking about even creating something like a gratitude session, it's best to do it in the morning. It's best to do it in the morning because that's the time when it'll be easy for you to create it. So what is a gratitude session? Yes, Sabrina?
No, nothing. I have not said anything.
No, it says Sabrina's phone raised a hand. So I thought you had a question. No problem. No problem. So the first step towards creating this gratitude session is to remember and be thankful for people who have done something nice for you. So it could be anything. It could be even somebody who has just stopped by to say good morning to you, who normally doesn't. Or it could be something like somebody helping you to cross the road. Anything, as trivial and insignificant it may seem, it actually isn't. And if you can remember those people who have done something nice for you, that's the first step towards creating your gratitude session. Events in your life that you are happy to have but have neglected to acknowledge. So sometimes we take things for granted. There are a lot of good things that happen to us and we expect that these good things are supposed to happen to us. And let me assure you that there's no such rule. There's no such unwritten rule that good things have to happen to you. And since they do happen to you, it's nice to remember them, acknowledge them, and keep them recorded in a journal or in your morning gratitude session, so that when you have something to look back on when you're feeling a little down, that these are the good things that have happened to you. And then the converse of that, even though you should not spend too much time on it, as I've said, not more than 10 seconds, the things that have not been so great or the things that have not been so good, but now that you're spending time on them, you know that because those things happened, something came out of it which allowed you to move ahead. So you will know now what not to do or what to avoid in life. So there are 3 points to creating a morning gratitude session. One is to acknowledge and remember the people who have done something nice for you. 2 is to acknowledge and remember the events that have happened, which have created good times for you, but you have neglected to acknowledge. And 3 is to spend some time on the things which have not been so great, but even though they have not been great, something good has come out of them, or you've seen life in a different way, or you've understood that you can be thankful for so many things because these things happened, but better things happened to you, etc., etc. So that's step 1, creating a morning gratitude session. Moving on to step 2, making a gratitude list. Now, there are things that affect all of us, and sometimes it could be things which are to do with a financial nature. Sometimes it could be things to do with somebody who's not feeling well, or you are going through depression, or there's ill health in the family, or job loss, or somebody's passed away, or the day is just tough and that's it. So when you create a gratitude list, you are actually creating a magic potion for yourself to counter these kind of days. Because when you have a gratitude list, you know that there is something to be thankful for. Whatever it may be, there is something to be thankful for. And this becomes your, if I could call it considering that modern day vaccines are the in thing. So this could be your own developed vaccine for countering the tough days or moments. And remember, there is no person on earth who can say that they have nothing to be thankful for. That is absolutely impossible. It's not improbable, it's impossible. I don't think anybody can stand up and say that there's nothing that they have to be thankful for. So there was a meme going around some few days back saying that if you have clothes on your body and food on your table and a roof over your head, you're in the 5% of the world. That means 95% of the people don't have those things. So therefore, looking at that perspective, I don't think there's anybody who can say that they have nothing to be thankful for. So that's why I put down that the list is endless. You have good health, you have a family, you have a job, a roof over your head, something to do, you're in a position to help others, you have a roof over your head, you can go and walk in the park, which so many people can't do, you have the freedom to practice your religion, etc., etc., etc. The list is endless. So there's always something to be thankful for. And when you look at that and create this gratitude list is your magic potion / vaccine to counter the tough days or moments that are occurring in your life. So that's step 2. Step 3, one of the most counterproductive emotions, and I actually very rarely use the word hate, but I actually hate this emotion. I hate anger. And I try to avoid it as much as possible. I can't say that I'm 100% successful. That would be a falsehood. But yes, I try to avoid it as much as possible. And this is a counterproductive emotion. It produces more failures than results, because when you're angry, you don't think clearly. You don't talk clearly. You say things that you don't mean, or you say things that you can't take back. And you end up creating a scenario where you are unable to recover from the counter effects of this emotion which you have so freely used at that time. But it's not easy to do it. It's easy to say that one should shun anger, but it's not easy to do it. There are 2 things in life that come very easy to us, contrary to the popular beliefs that it's laughing and smiling. It isn't. The 2 things that easily come to us are anger and tears. These things come very, very naturally and very, very easily. And it's most natural because when people treat us badly, or when they talk badly to us, or when they talk behind our back, or when they say something to us which we perceive to be hurtful, the first reaction that happens in our body is that our brain tells us we should be angry. And the second one which happens is we feel sad. So if we allow tears to be produced, which are very easily produced. We have an abundance of tears. So what you can do at this time, when these emotions are sort of rising up in your body and when the welling up is happening in your eyes, is to take a deep breath and focus on what positives can come out if it's a person whom you are engaging with. Focus on the positives of that person. Focus on what are the good things associated. There must be something good. I'm not going to go all religious and say it's a Jesus-like attitude. No. But all I'm going to say is that everybody has something positive to focus on. So what can you focus on positive? It's easy to pick on the negatives. That's the easiest thing to do, is to find something negative in someone, because everybody has flaws. Everybody has faults. So finding something negative about someone is just about the easiest thing you can do. And the tougher thing to do is to find something good associated with that person. But the moment you do that, your anger will begin to dissipate, and it will be easier for you to manage situations. So find your way to focus. Ensure that you look at the positives of the person, and you will see that your mood will begin to change. But more importantly than your mood, it's your attitude that will begin to change. So the attitude of anger will suddenly start to shift to the attitude of positivity, and attitude of gratitude, and attitude of thankfulness. So shun anger is step 3. I'll just recap. Step 1, create a morning gratitude session. Step 2, make a gratitude list. And step 3 is to shun anger. Step 4, the mirror technique. And this is something that I like a lot, and I find it very, very interesting. So remember that it is extremely easy to complain about people in our lives. The ones closest to us are the easiest ones to complain about. So whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, whether it's your friends or your colleagues and your bosses, in order of receding proximity. Spouses closest, children next, friends next, colleagues next, bosses last, and etc., etc. The list is endless. So it's easy to complain about that. However, the point to remember is that nobody is perfect. And I think this is a point which bears repetition. Nobody is perfect, and everybody has flaws. And it's very easy to find those flaws in people. So complaining is an easy thing to do. But remember that the people whom you are complaining about probably have similar complaints about you. So like I said, that everybody has flaws. So if you're complaining about someone, do remember that the other person might be complaining about you as well. And it's the easiest thing to do, the darndest easiest thing to do. So when you think about this from this kind of a perspective, what I recommend doing is, and what helps me a lot, and has helped others as well who have been through these sessions, is to calm down and try and look for the good in a person, and to help them to see the good in you. So this is called the mirroring technique, where you're looking for good in someone and asking them to, or helping them to see the good in you. How do you help them to see the good in you? By expressing the good in you. It's easy to do the things, the negative things, because they are easy to do. It's as simple as that. It's easy to grouse and complain because that's just comes naturally. However, if you calm down and try to look at the good in people and help them to see the good in you, what you're doing is you're creating a goodwill of wellness. And you're creating this goodwill of wellness by appreciating others through the pain of facing their so-called imperfection. So you're actually looking at their flaws and you're appreciating them for the people they are, rather than pointing out the flaws that they have. So you're accepting them in the package that they are, rather than trying to change the package. And this is one challenge I think that most individuals on earth have. When we don't like someone, or we don't appreciate someone for whatever reason, we try to change them. And I think that is something that we should resist doing. It's easy to say it, it's difficult to do it, but that's exactly what we need to do through this mirror technique if we're going to develop an attitude of gratitude. So stop trying to change people. Look at what they bring to the table in the perspective of neutrality. Look at what they bring to the table in the perspective of how good it can be for you, because there must be something good which they bring. And when you start creating this this goodwill of wellness, you will help yourself and others to appreciate each other more, and the attitude of gratitude gets developed from there. So that's step 4, the mirror technique. Step 5, this is my favorite, honestly speaking, because some of you I keep talking to as we meet, and there are so many of you who I've met, and people who will look at this recording are people I've spoken to in the past and will keep speaking to. You know that this is something that I like. I think a challenge is actually, and I've worded it very carefully. If you look at it, I have not used the word problem. I have not used the word difficulty. I have not used the word hardship. I use the word challenge, because the word challenge itself, sort of brings in many different perspectives. When you look at something as a challenge, it is actually an opportunity to grow. A challenge is something that presents itself to you and allows you to realize that you can grow. It's not something to complain about. Yes, it's tough. Nobody said life is easy, and life is not meant to be easy. Life is meant to be tough. So that's 100% guarantee which you can take from today's session and go, that life is not meant to be easy. Life is meant to be tough. But these challenges which come along our way in life are the challenges which allow us to grow and become better individuals. If we face them and we look for the way in overcoming them, we will become better. If we complain, bemoan, grouse, and to use the colloquial word, bitch about them, then we will not become better individuals, but we will actually never grow in our to another station in life. So a challenge is a chance for you to get better at something. A challenge, I'm going to repeat that. A challenge is an opportunity or a chance for you to get better at something. A person who does not accept a challenge has a defeatist mindset. A person who accepts a challenge has a non-defeatist or positive mindset and will allow himself or herself to be grateful for the opportunity to grow. And this methodology of accepting challenges and looking at them as opportunities to grow will transform you from a complainant into a non-complainant or a positive person. So look at ways and means by which you can accept challenges, be thankful for them, overcome them, look at solutions to take them on and come out of them. And when you do this, you will observe the most important thing, one of the, or let's say the USP of this particular step, the unique selling proposition of this particular step is people will like you better and you will improve at things in your life. Now, granted, out of 10 people, there are always going to be 2 or 3 people who won't like you. You know, there's a famous rule in life. Many of you may have heard of it. It's called the 80-20 rule. So it was formed when they said that 80% of the people are 20% of the people are earning 80% of the money, and 80% of the people are the ones who are working for the 20%. That's the rule of life. So in this, if you transpose that rule into this situation where we talk about 8 out of 10, there will always be 2 or 3 people who will not like you. No matter what you do, you could be the best person on earth. You could be the most gracious person, helpful person, happy-go-lucky person, helping people all the time. But even then, there will be some people who will always come with a grumpy face. They'll try to find a fault in you. They'll try to find something to be negative about or complain about. So don't worry about that. All you need to worry about is that if you develop this attitude of being thankful for challenges, or let me not say worry about, but be focused on, if you develop this attitude, people will like you better. And you will observe that in your conversations with them, you will see that they will spend more time with you. How do you know that people like you better? You know that people like you better when they spend more time with you, when they're willing to listen to what you have to say, when they allow you to speak to them with a longer duration, or they have a keen interest in what you're sharing with them, and they like to exchange ideas with you, and they like to spend more time with you. that's when you know that people will like you better. How do you know that people don't like you better? When they avoid you at first sight. That means people don't like you. They feel that, okay, they have nothing to. So being thankful for challenges gives people this opportunity to like you better. And because of that, you will improve at many things in your life. So that's step 5, be thankful for challenges. We'll move on to step 6. Now, this is a tough one, very, very tough one. And, in life, I always believe that the person who's going through it can only understand what they are going through. And therefore, if you want to embrace a tragedy, it's probably easier if a tragedy has happened to you. And now, that's not to say that one should go around expecting or hoping for tragedies to happen. But the point I'm trying to make here is that tragedies too are a part of life and you cannot avoid them. They do happen to every single person on this beautiful God-given earth. And it's something that you need to embrace. It's something that you need to learn from. Now, what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is not to say that you should not grieve. Of course, you should grieve. Grieving is a very important part and an important healing process of your life when you go through a tragedy, whatever it may be, whether it's the loss of someone or something sad that has happened, somebody's suffering with a life-threatening illness, etc., etc., etc. So it's not to say that you shouldn't grieve or you shouldn't feel sad, but the fact is that through that tragedy, value the time that the person spent or value the time that you had to spend with that person, because the beauty of life is very fleeting. And that's the reality. I have a running joke in the family. And you might have heard it sometimes when I've spoken with you. I always say that I want to live till I'm 140 years old. I don't know why that number is stuck in my head, but I want to live till 140, and people laugh and say, so the thing I'm trying to make here is that even that 140 years, if God willing it does happen, is a very small period of time on earth. So the beauty of life is very fleeting. So the more time you spend on earth, take away from the beauty of life, embrace tragedies, grieve, remember the people who have passed on, but don't forget the ones who are still in your life. That's what happens now. What happens is when you start grieving about a loss of a close one or about a tragedy that has happened, you tend to forget the people who are still there in your life. And that is like a double whammy, because you cannot bring back the person who has gone on, and you tend to lose the person who is already there. So do grieve, do spend time remembering people who have moved on, but please give time to the people who exist in your life, lest they move on in a physical sense rather than a spiritual sense. This particular time should be an opportunity for you to appreciate these people and to enjoy life, because you have that opportunity to do. So since you have that opportunity to appreciate people, you have that opportunity to enjoy life, please go ahead and do it. Please appreciate those people because they deserve to be appreciated. Again, I would like to stress and specify, nobody is saying don't remember the people who have gone on. What we're saying here is, in that remembrance of people who have left, don't forget people who exist here, because that is something that could create more problems for you than you can ever imagine. So that's about embracing tragedies. And I'll move on to the last one, and then I'll do a recap so that it's clear. Anybody who joined late can see all the steps, even though I will obviously put the recording onto my YouTube channel, so you can always visit that and see this and many other sessions which are there. Step 7, appreciate what you have. Happiness is not a destination. You're already there, or rather, happiness is already here. So what we do as individuals is, we don't focus on what we have. We focus on what we don't have. And that's where we start becoming unhappy. Because when you start focusing on what you don't have, that's a huge ocean. and you will always not have something which others have. But what you don't realize is they don't have what you have. So now, for example, to give you an example, let's say you're in a very successful marriage, but you are focusing on another person who has a lot of money. But let me tell you that maybe that person has a lot of money, but they don't have a successful relationship, or they don't have successful equations with their children, or they are, unhappy on the inside, or they are so negative and so, churned up inside that they can't appreciate anything that they have. So you are in a much, much superior position to them. So you must focus on what you have rather than focusing on what you don't. And do remember that there will always be someone who doesn't have. I've put here the presentation says quarter. I'll go even lower. There's always someone who doesn't even have an iota of what you take for granted. And that's the beauty of life. You already have all that you need. You already have happiness. It's up to you to focus on that happiness and not take things for granted. And the last point in this is that if you really want to compare, then you should compare with the people who don't have what you have and realize that you already have enough. So although I'm not in favor of comparisons, I just put in this point saying that if you are one of those individuals who feel, no, I must compare with others, or that's my natural style of valuing myself, which in itself is a little questionable, but no judging here. If you must compare with people who don't have what you do, and you will realize that you already have enough and more than you need. So that's step 7. So I'm just going to recap. Step 1, creating a morning gratitude session. And why did we say morning? Because morning is the best time of the day. You're most receptive. Your brain is working in top gear. You're able to appreciate things in a much, much better manner. So a morning gratitude session is very important to remember people who have done something nice for you, the events in your life that you are happy about, but you haven't acknowledged, and look at the things that have gone wrong also in terms of that, so that you know what you have and what you don't need. Step 2, make a gratitude list. Everybody has tough days, but if you make a gratitude list, it's a magic potion for you to counter the tough days. Okay, and there's always something to be thankful for. Step 3, the most counterproductive, useless emotion, anger, produces more failures than results. So try to shun anger, try to avoid anger as much as possible, and then your mood will change. Step 4, the mirror technique, looking at yourself and helping people to see the good in you, and looking for the good in people to create a goodwill of wellness, so that you allow people to appreciate what is there in you and you appreciate what is there in them. Step 5, be thankful for challenges. We're not calling them difficulties or hardships, because challenges are something from which we grow. So it's a chance for you to get better at something. So step 5 is be thankful for challenges. Step 6, embrace tragedies. Difficult to do, but we should, because don't forget the people who are still here while remembering the ones who have passed on. So don't neglect the people who are in your life currently, just because you cannot forget the ones who have moved on. That's embrace tragedies. And step 7, appreciate what you have. The first sentence says it all. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is already here. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is already here. So instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you do. And there's always somebody who doesn't even have a quarter of the things that you have, so that you take for granted. So these are the 7 steps for creating an attitude of gratitude. I hope that you have been able to take your notes and you will be practicing these things. I'll just stop sharing my screen for a moment now. And I hope that you will be able to practice these philosophies, these methodologies, because they will help you a lot. It's good to see so many of you on the call. And I will be sharing the recording of this on my YouTube channel as well. There are many other videos there, and should you feel inclined to do so, please do go visit the channel. And it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything for it. You just have to take out 5 minutes of your time and go visit the channel. And if you like what you see, do encourage me by giving me a like. That's about it. I'm very happy to see so many of you. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday, and have a great day. God bless you. Thank you.
Suddenly it came.
Move some.